Welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to Wednesday's edition of the dceu Daily. Let me read to you what Patty Jenkins said about her role on Wonder Woman 2017. This is very interesting. When they finally did hire her, Jenkins still had a lot of fear, mistrust, and just wanted her to execute their ideas rather than bring her own vision to the movie. They wanted to hire me like a beard. They wanted me to walk around on set as a woman, but it was their story and their vision, Jenkins recalled. And my ideas, they didn't even want to read my script. There was such a mistrust of a different way of doing things and a different point of view. So that was definitely happening. Even when I first joined Wonder Woman, it was like, yeah, okay, but let's do it this other way. But I was like, women don't want to see that. Her being harsh and tough and cutting people's heads off, that's not what... I'm a Wonder Woman fan. That's not what we're looking for. Still, I could feel shaky nervousness on their part of my point of view. Well, there's a reason for that, Patty. It's because your point of view has just been executed on Wonder Woman 84. And not only is it not sitting well with male Wonder Woman fans, but especially female Wonder Woman fans, because she is a warrior and she is a brutal warrior as well as being a genuine, gentle, compassionate person. But she's certainly not afraid of, being brutal. And that is in her history, Patty. And that's the problem. And you're making a big assumption of what women do and don't want to see. Shall I tell you why? Because women are individual human beings with different ideologies and opinions, and to stereotype them and say, oh, that's not what women want to see, is actually really bad on your part. And isn't this interesting? Isn't this interesting, boys and girls and everybody else, that she says this in an interview, but then Zack goes on a video showing us an old picture of Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, with a picture standing with Sikh soldiers holding Wonder Woman holding severed heads. What do you think Zack's trying to tell us here? It's a response to what Patty says here, because Zack's quite clever. Zack's not toxic. Zack doesn't come out and say what he wants to say, right? He's been very supportive towards Wonder Woman 84, rightly so. It's the latest DC movie. His and Deb's name is on it, so of course he gets something out of it. The more it makes, the better him and Deb do as well. Obviously, he wanted the film to do well. But if you think for one moment that Zack Snyder would ever have made a Wonder Woman film like Wonder Woman 84, you've got to be joking. So the great response to this statement is Zack Snyder going on that video on YouTube. And I think it's just the Snyderverse fans YouTube channel actually showing us the picture. He makes his points very, very well without being negative, without being toxic. He's saying to her, yeah, that's what we wanted to do, right? We didn't do it in the end. We did listen to you. Did they have, in Wonder Woman 2017, did we see a picture of severed heads, right? Or even in BVS, maybe they were going to show it in BVS, I'm not quite sure. I haven't heard the complete interview, right? But here's the thing, this is Zack Snyder responding in the best way possible to what she said. She's talking about, I was just there because I was a woman. Yeah, because these studios think women should direct women, which is, of course, totally wrong. It should be the best director for the job. I'm not saying she wasn't the best director for the job. She couldn't handle it. She was brought in to be an episode director, as I keep on damn well saying, and she just can't handle it. How's she going to cope over on Disney Star Wars? Because it's going to be even worse for her on there. She knew this was her biggest gig yet. And still, she couldn't respect the fact that they had their vision and they didn't want to change what they were doing for what she was saying. At the end of the day, I think there was a meeting in the middle with Wonder Woman 2017, and because of that, it ended up being probably the best comic book movie of all time. But I just don't know why she keeps on talking like this, because I think she's bitter. I think she's been told Wonder Woman 3 is her last movie. The studio have told her in no uncertain terms what the future of this franchise is. And she, my friends, is not happy. But credit for Zack. He didn't come out and respond verbally to her. He showed us the picture of Wonder Woman standing with the Sikh soldiers holding those severed heads, and it's brilliant. It's a brilliant response to what she says here. It's very interesting when Zack goes on these fan YouTube videos and talks very freely. This is what he says about Superman. To me, grounding Superman into our world rather than us going into his was the way I thought about it. It's not just about the physical reality of what you're capable of, but also about your spiritual place in the world and how you fit into it. In other words, his idea of Superman is that Superman needs to earn the right to be the big blue boy scout that we know and love. It can't happen automatically like it happened in the Donnerverse or in other iterations. He has to earn it. In other words, he has to go through some real shit for that to happen. And I absolutely agree with that. But this is the one everyone's talking about. And this is the one that's got me a bit triggered. So let's take a look at this. This is what he said on this YouTube channel. Zack Snyder. It's well known that I planned on more movies, but I am busy. I've got a lot going on, you know. It is cool that the fans have so much faith in the trajectory. It's amazing. Would I continue? ? I didn't think I'd be here, so who knows? But instead of people focusing on the bottom bit, people with agendas are focusing on the top bit where he says he's really busy. Do you think that Zack Snyder spent the last 2.5 years getting us together, posting pictures on Vero because he just wants his Justice League movie to be released and then for him to walk away from this? No, he's obsessed with DC as much as you are and as much as I am, right? And I'm going to read you something I wrote about this earlier on because people with agendas have really pissed me off. So I had to say this because all of a sudden they've decided he's not going to make any more. That's it. And also we know Kevin Smith said the other day that he's heard from his sources that actually Zack Snyder's Justice League does finish in a bit of a cliffhanger. So there's room for more. But already we've got people like Matt Jarbo making fun of what Kevin Smith's saying. Oh, well, Zack Snyder says he's not making any more. That's not what he said. So this is what I responded with towards what Zack Snyder said about the future of his DC universe. Zack Snyder does not have the power to greenlight DC stories. For him to direct, that's up to the studio. It's all very entertaining seeing people put words in his mouth. Here is how this is going to work. We are going to stream the fuck out of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Then everything else will come together at the end of the day. We hold the power, not movie Twitter. We got this far. We just have to keep on fighting. One thing is for sure, Zack is obsessed with DC and would love to do more, but he doesn't own the studio. Now, I wanted to read my own words because I forgot most of them. I thought this, I'll say this myself, I think I put this really well. So if you didn't see this interview, you would have thought Zack Snyder said, not doing anymore, walking away, enough's enough, I'm going to sign an exclusive deal with Netflix, and that's the end of it. That's not what the man said. I didn't think I'd be here now, so who knows? He's challenging us. He's giving us a call to arms. We must support Zack Snyder's Justice League, and everything else, as I just said down there, will come together. That's very important to understand. And people with agendas who have decided no more's going to happen, it's a one and done, I don't believe that. I think there's an opportunity, if this film's successful, for him to write and direct or co-write and direct a Man of Steel sequel focusing on the Codex. Imagine the Codex story. Imagine if, you know, the millions of Kryptonian cells in Kal-El's body are extracted. What happens with that, right? Will Kryptonians and human beings live on Earth together? How compelling is that? And Clark's got to be responsible for those people. Could there be a planet out there where he could house them and there'd be a new Krypton? And could it be torn between these two worlds? What if one day they go to war? There is so much potential here. This was David S. Goyer's vision for a Man of Steel 2, and it must happen. And I believe Zack can pull that off over on HBO Max, while J.J. Abrams has his centralized Superman universe released theatrically. This is why the multiverse strategy was constructed, because the studio know that Zack's movies cannot attract the mainstream audience And as a business, they need to also attract the mainstream audience. So you create a multiverse strategy. You let Zack do his things over on HBO Max with DC, and you have a centralized universe that attracts the mainstream audience, just like Aquaman did in 2018. That was a beautiful, beautiful film. I was watching it today. It works for the mainstream, as does Wonder Woman 2017. And those kind of films will be made centrally. But Zack can have his own playpen over on HBO Max. Zack Snyder does not want to walk away from this. I've read you his quote. Yes, he says he's really busy right now, and that's great. And if we have to wait another 2 or 3 years for his verse to continue, as long as we know it is going to continue. But I have faith, and I believe if you want this, you should too. And basically in life, people who have got agendas and don't want this to happen, we say something's not going to happen because we don't want it to happen, hoping that's the case. But unfortunately, movie Twitter don't own Warner Media. AT&T do. Normally, I would have led with this story as the main story of today's DCEU Daily, but I wanted to get the Zack Snyder stuff off my chest. It's actually Monday evening, but you're not going to see this till Wednesday. So you're watching it now, it's Wednesday, and you're watching the DCEU Daily because I'm an episode ahead. I'm locking it down because of bad internet and having to be ahead of the curve. But this is a massive one from the direct. Michael Keaton, not Ben Affleck, set to be main Batman in the DCEU franchise. Now, of course, this will be very triggering to fans of the Snyderverse, but let's read what they've got to say. The DC Extended Universe may be having its fair share of issues. Now, no issues, shut up. That it's currently working through, but the franchise's upcoming future should bring us a signal of hope. Warner Brothers is currently enjoying the success from Wonder Woman 1984's release on HBO Max, and the team is also preparing for the highly anticipated release for the Snyder Cut of Justice League in about 2 months. Just like what is happening within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, DC is about to embrace the concept of the multiverse that has been utilized in the pages of comic books for decades. This will mostly be seen in 2022's The Flash, which will bring 2 different Batmen to life via the talents of Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton. Recently, an interview with Warner Brothers head of movie production confirmed there will be multiple Batmen running at the same time in the DCEU. However, a new social media blast indicates that the second Batman will not be the one previously expected. In his latest interview with the New York Times, Warner Brothers head Walter Hamada was quoted on saying there will be multiple versions of Batman coexisting within the DC Extended Universe. Coming up, for instance, Warner Brothers will have 2 different film sagas involving Batman, played by 2 different actors, running at the same time. The writer of this piece, Brooks Barnes, took to Twitter to confirm that the second of these 2 Batman will be Michael Keaton alongside Robert Pattinson. Now, this is very interesting because although Hamada was in this interview, it's actually the journalist saying this. So we've got to be clear about this. No one at Warner Brothers has confirmed this. This is a journalist, but it looks like Hamada may have told him this. So this is what Nesta Scene said. Hi Brooks Barnes, New York Times. Based on your Hamada piece, some have interpreted that Warner Brothers is doing 2 franchises starring Batman, one with Pattinson and one with a new actor. Is that correct? Or were you referring to Keaton as a second Batman being part of a non-Batman-centric saga? Thank you. Brooke Barnes confirms that he was talking about Michael Keaton. So that's very, very interesting. What this means, although there have been so many contrary reports about the different Batman within the DCEU, it seems as though Ben Affleck is slowly being phased out as the Caped Crusader. News from last summer that Affleck would return for 2022's The Flash came as a shock to fans and critics alike, especially considering his unceremonious exit from the director's chair on a previously planned Batman solo movie. A few years ago, it's unclear whether The Flash will be his last time in the DCEU, but his time as the Caped Crusader seems to be coming to an end, sooner rather than later. As for Michael Keaton, Warner Brothers seems to have big plans for the man who first took on the cowl over 30 years ago. Rumours have pointed to him serving in a sort of Nick Fury role for the DCEU as a whole, and his return is gaining hype over a year and a half before it officially arrives. Well, this is very interesting. So, what can we gauge from this? As I've said, Walter Hamada didn't say this in this interview. It's very important to understand that this interviewer, this New York Times journalist, is saying this. So either he's just decided this is going to happen in his own mind because Brooke Barnes doesn't run Warner Media or DC Movies, Walter Hamada does. But could Hamada have told him this? It seems maybe off the record, Walter might have told him this. Now, this is very, very interesting. So how is this going to play out if true, if Michael Keaton is going to be the main Batman in the DCEU, in the DC Extended Universe? Well, what happens to Ben Affleck is interesting. They could, of course, kill him off in Flashpoint. Now, in Justice League 3 or Justice League 2, Zack was planning on doing that. It was going to be a big sacrifice, and there was a lot going on with that. So he was always going to be killed off anyway. So that could be a thing. Or this could be an interesting thing to do. What if he gets trapped in another parallel Earth? So they can focus on him in individual kind of self-contained movies, but the main Batman in the DC Extended Universe could actually be Michael Keaton. Now, this is interesting. Is Michael Keaton the main Batman, or is he playing this Nick Fury thing where he cameos in every single film? Something that was rumoured a few years ago Henry Cavill's Superman was doing. So we don't know. But at this moment in time, this guy Barnes did interview Hamada, and it is realistic and believable that Hamada off the record could have told him this. And I want to know, because this is important, I want to know, especially from the Snyderverse fans, how you feel about this. This is how I feel about it. I think, as I've said already, there's a way to keep Affleck involved in the multiverse strategy by trapping him on a parallel Earth. That would be interesting, right? But even if they do kill him off, Here's the Batman could still happen on HBO Max. It could be something that happened before the character died. So they can still do that. There can still be more Batfleck stories. But of course, the fans want Batfleck to be the central DC Extended Universe Batman. But that might not be happening now. Look, we don't know what they're going to do in 2022 with this film. But I tell you what, I'm very excited to see to find out, to see what actually happens. Because it is very intriguing. It is very exciting. I do hope my parallel Earth thing of Ben Affleck's Batman being stuck there, that would be really, really good, because then we could still have movies. But of course, I would understand if Ben Affleck's decided, this is my last movie, I'm going to get killed off. But it's interesting because Michael Keaton is even older than Ben Affleck. Isn't it better to have a younger Batman? But then they've got Robert Pattinson in Earth 2. So you've got an older Batman and a younger Batman who could possibly cross over one day. That is exciting. Really exciting. The thing is with me, I love Ben Affleck as Batman, but I also love Michael Keaton as Batman. So it's a bittersweet situation, and we're just going to have to see how it all plays out. Comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. See you again soon.